Hey everybody, Adele here. Well, we are in the midst of truly tumultuous times, and it's impacting me, it's impacting all my clients. Today is not a rah-rah uh, video as much as a getting real with the stress of what's going on. Because it's really hard to be grooving in your personal life with so much happening around us, and yet we've got to find a way, right? So, I was at a dinner party recently, and there were 8 of us at a table. And I have to be honest, I didn't know these people that well. And it was so interesting. On my left was a woman who lives in North Atlanta, in the suburbs, wealthier Atlanta suburbs. And on my right was a woman who lived in town. And somehow the topic of what's happening and social welfare came up. And I remember going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen here? I mean, there's 8 people, we don't know each other that well. And the lady on my left, from shall we say, a more well-to-do, upper middle class background, started the conversation. And she said, we really need welfare reform because we've got so many people living on the public dole. They get paid for having more children, and I am tired of my taxes going to pay for people to have more kids that they can't support. And those people really need to get a job and get their act together because, frankly, I'm tired of footing the bill. And the people at the table just sat there, and the lady on my right said, I'm curious, do you actually know anyone on welfare? Because I work in that arena. I work with social services or whatever, I can't remember. I'm curious, do you actually know anyone on welfare? And the woman on my left said, well, no, but everyone knows this is the problem, right? This is what happens. And the woman on my right said something very thoughtful. I'll never forget. She said, if you get to know someone who's actually in these circumstances, you would probably have a different point of view. And I thought that was so diplomatic. And you could feel the tension because she's getting mad and this one's getting mad, and I'm sitting there in the middle at this table, and everyone else is going, politics at a dinner conversation. How do we do this? Because it wasn't like people at the table didn't care. Everyone cared a lot. We just didn't know how to have a conversation that just doesn't blow up. So it struck with me later that the woman on my right was trying to say, unless you know from personal experience about what's going on, you're probably never going to be able to feel into all the factors, that it's never quite that simple. That the woman on my left was saying, well, of course, that's what she read in the newspaper. Everybody knows that's a situation. And the woman on my right was saying, unless you've personally been there or experienced it or have had some real life experience, you're not really going to have enough data to have a more full-bodied understanding of the problems. She was very diplomatic. And I've carried this image in my mind for quite some time in terms that unless you've been personally impacted by what's going on, it's very difficult for anyone to have a more nuanced sense of how to be with it all. That if all you've got to go on is what you read in the newspaper or the media, and it doesn't matter on which side, your understanding is probably going to be a whole lot more limited than when you have full-bodied experience. Now, this is something I've been sitting with because I feel like that's what's going on in our politics today, that no one has enough full-bodied experience of these issues. I mean, we can't. It's not possible For me to really know what it's like to live on welfare, it's not really possible for me to know what it's like to be an auto worker or living in Silicon Valley or a taxpayer in North Atlanta in the wealthy suburbs. Is going to feel very differently than someone who works all day long with people who are impacted by certain policies. So what do? The best thing, if you can't actually experience it yourself, is to get to know people who have some real life experience. Sit down and listen to their story without an assumption of how things are. We have lost the ability to really listen. So, we have this polarization of my favorite news media or, what I'm saying. I don't really have an experience, but, until I do, my ability to sit with the complexities that are going on is limited. So what I'm going to do as a personal experiment, and I haven't been wanting to announce this yet, but because I am sitting with stress and every day my clients are talking about what's happening at the global level, the political level, it is impacting us. There's just not possible that it can't. What do? Half of them are checking out. I don't want to know. I'm just going to think positive thoughts because it's the only way I can survive, right? I avoid the news, blah, blah. Totally get it, right? That is certainly one way to do it. Does it help move us forward to more connection? It's one way to handle it. Then I've got other clients that are lost in the drama and the pain of what's going on at large. I feel it too. And then there's a third group that says, I want to be involved in some way. I'm not necessarily wanting to march on Washington. I suppose I could contribute money, but I don't know what to do, and that's stressing me out. So what I'm taking upon myself is for the next week or so, or maybe a little bit longer, I am going to literally get in the bodies of people who think very differently. Meaning, I'm going to read what they read. I'm going to really feel how they are. And then I'm going to come online and I'm going to channel these different points of view when it's coming from my bones. Meaning, it's not just a caricature of, oh, you believe in this and so you must be that. Or you are, and these labels that start getting thrown around. Not helpful. Because I have to believe, for my own sanity, that at the end of the day, everyone wants the best for people. I don't believe most people are walking around, spewing hatred at this, spewing hatred at that. And I mean, that's not the best word. I think there's a huge chasm of misunderstanding. And the only way I can survive with this stress is rather than, la, 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 I'm just going to think positive thoughts and hope it never impacts me, or get lost in the chaos. You know what? I'm going to step right into it. I'm going to watch extreme media and really hear how and why they feel the way they do. I'm going to channel and sit in my bones with people who feel very differently from me and get a feeling of why they do. It's not the what that's the most important of what people want. It's the why. The why, the only way you're going to really understand, how can they think that way? What's wrong with them? The only way you're going to get there is to be curious in the why. That's hard to do. You've got to really sit and listen and not just wait for the other person to stop talking so I can argue back. That's the problem. And I cannot ask you all to step into this unless I do. And I've been doing it for a while. And I'm feeling it in my bones. I have a stronger sense of why and where people are coming from, and not just from the mental. There are historical, cultural, traditional, religious things that are going on that are deep in people's bones that need to be respected. And not just, oh yeah, let's agree to disagree. That's the best we can do. Fine. I'm going the next step further. I want to actually feel it in my bodies, because guess what? There are good people everywhere. Even people who are voting for things that I just think are just, wow, on either side. Can I go there and find their humanity? Meaning, really sit with how and why they feel that way, because there's a reason. And it's rarely because of hatred. That sort of misses the boat. Now, and then I'm going to come out here and I'm going to channel for you. And I'm going to try to be as convincing and truly, not trying to convince, but in my bones that, yeah, I do get why people feel the way they do. And this is a little bit about similar to the work I'm already doing with clients. Like some of you know, I work with families, sometimes married couples, kids. It's all energetic work. And the only way I can go there is to be in the bones and feel it out. So I hear very different points of view about a problem. My job is not to take sides or anything, but the only way to be effective is to feel it and go, oh, these are good people who truly mean the best. Let's solve a problem. So in order to heal what's going on and be a stronger leader for my tribe, I'm going to challenge myself to take it a step further and step into some of this chaos that is very painful for everybody, and get a sense there's a lot lurking under the surface that unless you go there, you're not going to be very effective in understanding why people feel a certain way. You're just going to label them. And I don't know about you, but nobody likes being labeled. So this is my homework that I'm doing. I'm going to come out here. I don't know how long it'll take. I'm already in it. I can feel it in my bones. Why? And I'm noticing the gift for me when I do this, it hurts less. It's very painful to perceive half the population as bad, evil, hateful, whatever. When I step into the humanity of why they feel, it's rarely so black and white. Now, do I agree? No. And I'm imagining how I would be if I really believed certain things to be true, right? Based on media, based on what I heard. It is true that, I'm going to make it up, that, all these immigrants are rapists and murderers. And if I really believe that, oh my God, this is serious, right? Of course I want to protect my family. And people who live near the border, who live with this problem every day, have real life, full-blooded experience that someone who lives in the middle of Maine might not, but just reads the newspapers. So as I said at the start of this clip, and I was talking about that story at the dinner table, unless you've had full-bodied experience with it and all you've got is a little bit of media or stuff, it's very stressful. It's impossible to have a nuanced, thoughtful perspective. And I think a lot of people are really struggling right now. How do I be with this chaos? And so they're resorting to, I'm just not going to think about it, put it out of my mind. I'm good. Because as long as I'm good, maybe my world will be good. Totally understandable. And not everything is I, me, myself. So there's a long about way of announcing what I'm going to try to do. And I'll come out here and I want you to watch and see if you can feel into these different personas and maybe appreciate why people are feeling the way they do and be able to connect with all these different points of view so that you aren't feeling such a dagger in your heart. Maybe there's some common ground we can work with. This is hard, okay? And let's just see what happens. So, till later, wish me luck. Thanks. Bye.